We are that same base of people that have the wherewithal to know when we are looking at a hoax and when we are looking at something that is deeply sinister. We were clever enough to perceive a hoax then, and we're clever enough to perceive what is clearly not a hoax now.
So recently, Candace Owens talked a little bit about how Trump's pivot on the Epstein story to basically liken it to a hoax on the level of Russiagate is absolutely absurd. This is not a hoax. It's something that Trump's own side and many of his subordinates have said that they would give answers to as they came into office. So let's get her take on this. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
I want to show you this. Trump tweets this today, calling Jeffrey Epstein a Democrat hoax. Did all that? Maybe everything I just shared sounded like a Democrat hoax to you. He wrote on Truth Social, the radical left Democrats have hit pay dirt again. Just like with the fake and fully discredited Steele dossier, the lying from the intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, which the Dems swore had come from Russia. No, it came from Hunter Biden's bathroom. And even the Russia scam itself, totally fake and made up story used in order to hide crooked Hillary Clinton's big loss in the 2016 presidential election. These scams and hoaxes are all the Democrats are good at. It's all they have. They are no good at governing, no good at policy, and no good at picking winning candidates. Also, unlike Republicans, they stick together like glue. Their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. And my past supporters have bought into this bullshit, hook, line, and sinker.
You know why? Because you promised to divulge the truth on the Lex Friedman podcast. It was Kash Patel that talked about bringing transparency to this issue, complaining about the FBI withholding this information. It was about Dan Bongino, who you appointed to the deputy of the FBI, that talked about this endlessly, how getting this information out to the public would end the Democrats. It was Pam Bondi saying that there would be transparency and implying already a second release of the Epstein files after that debacle handing out binders to conservative influencers. This is not a hoax that you can liken to Russiagate, which was absurd. That you can liken to the Hunter Biden laptop, which was absurd, which you can liken to any of these stupid plots that the Democrats cooked up to hurt you. This is something that your side ran on. They panned Joe Biden for this, dragged him over the coals for his lack of transparency and sinister, response to this by just ignoring it and pretending that it could be swept under the rug when a giant sex trafficking ring involving extremely powerful people came to light, and we still don't have answers. In fact, you've muddied the waters, and that's the truth.
They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will. Even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 long years, I have had more success in 6 months than perhaps any president in our country's history. And all these people want to talk about with strong prodding by the fake news and the success-starved Dems is a Jeffrey Epstein hoax. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking about our incredible and unprecedented success because I don't want their support anymore. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Just think about that. He's likening his own supporters to doing the dirty work of the Democrats because they happen to notice that, yeah, what you've done here is deceptive. And you're part of it. It's not just your subordinates. I know some of the conservative influencers out there won't go the full length and blame you, even though your first response to this was very bold and brazen and very dismissive. And by the way, it made you look pretty defensive as if you had something to hide on this. Yeah, no, this won't go away. And this was your supporters demanding it. And all the polls are reflecting that some of your most ardent and zealous supporters hate how you're handling this. And it's not just polls. It's the top brass of the influencers. It's not even high-tier influencers. It's Candace Owens and Matt Walsh and Alex Jones and Steve Bannon. That's who's complaining about how you're handling this. So, this is just absurd to basically just, try to be as absurd as possible and trying to get us to swallow this narrative. Hook, line, and sinker, that's what you expect us to believe when you're saying, hey, the client list exists, it's on Bondi's desk. No, wait, no, it wasn't. We have thousands of hours of video of Epstein molesting kids. Oh, wait, no, that was just child porn. We don't know if Epstein's an intelligence asset or related to the intelligence services. And by the way, here's a video with about 3 minutes cut out of it. That wasn't even near Epstein's cell and doesn't match the cell door of the pictures you published after he supposedly killed himself. That's what we're dealing with.
Make America great again. A lot going on there. He doesn't want the support of anybody who wants to know more about the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. That's a pretty big statement. Calling it a Democrat hoax, as we uncovered a couple of days ago, he was arrested during the time when Trump was in power in 2019, that second time. Rather, I think the first time he was arrested back in 2007, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Skylar, was it George Bush was president? Yep, that's correct. And so it doesn't really seem like that might have been a Democrat hoax, given the fact that these were federal charges and Republicans would have been in charge.
Indeed, and he also said that this was the work of crooked Hillary and Obama, who wasn't part of his administration when Epstein supposedly killed himself, the beginnings of the second investigation, which took place under your tenure, under your presidency. So to pin the blame on the Democrats for creating this hoax, it was your side that talked about this, and I think rightly so, to point these things out. And now, again, we're just supposed to act like you have it in your control. Trust the plan. There's nothing to see here. After so many contradictory things that were said about it, not only from Bondi, Kash Patel, Alina Habba, that's one that no one talks about, but Alina Habba, your attorney out there in New Jersey, said, when we release this information, it's going to shock the world, some of these names that come out. That's what we were told. So it doesn't make sense now to say, there was now nothing there. It doesn't make sense at all. We know that there was information gathered from the FBI in the investigation. Documentation of that exists. Epstein's safe with digital media, with CDs with names on them, presumably prominent people. We know that exists. We also know that Epstein became an FBI informant of sorts after his first plea bargain, because that was in the documentation of the plea from Acosta, where he said he would divulge information to the feds involving his activities as part of that sweetheart deal. So yeah, we're not swallowing this and just pretending it's going to go away. This is creating a schism in your world, in the MAGA world, and Candace is right to point that out.
And also, I think people from both sides are calling for this. It's not just Republicans or just Democrats that want these files. It's like the first time everyone is together on this. And it's interesting to say, we should move on from Jeffrey Epstein in a post where you are also throwing it back to all of these other hoaxes, right? So we get to keep talking about the laptop. We get to keep talking about the Russia hoax, which we fully agree were hoaxes. That's why we were behind you as your supporters, saying these are hoaxes. There is no fire here. There's not even any smoke here. And we followed you. We are that same base of people that have the wherewithal to know when we are looking at a hoax and when we are looking at something that is deeply sinister. You can't just edit our ability to see that, okay? We were clever enough to perceive a hoax then, and we're clever enough to perceive what is clearly not a hoax now. That's what I would say. That's what I would offer back.
Yeah, amen. I'm so glad that Candace is hammering him over this, because that's exactly the perception that I'm a third party. I never voted for Trump. I didn't support him. But yeah, absolutely, I was with the right-wing populists bringing this up and how it was being so hidden and concealed from the public eye. Anything related to Epstein, how he accumulated his wealth, who were his clients, what evidence was used to convict Ghislaine Maxwell that we still haven't seen. Did he have connections to Mossad? I've explored that in other videos. There's so many open questions here, and a lot of it has just been concealed by this discussion of, whether he killed himself or not, which, yeah, I agree is important and kind of ties into those other things. But man, we are just being given nothing here. They can't even give us breadcrumbs. And Trump's already reversed this to some extent and kind of contradicted himself, because that memo said that, hey, there's nothing here, case closed. Bondi said that's it on Epstein. Well, Trump then said, well, hey, now Bondi can release whatever she thinks is credible. So there is something there. There are files there. He's just now calling it a Democratic hoax. It's so stupid. How do they believe we're going to swallow this narrative?
But Mr. Trump, Mr. President Trump, respectfully, if you'd ever like to come on my podcast, last time we spoke, I'd welcome you to explain in long format how you perceive this to be a hoax and who particularly you see as facilitating this hoax. I also invite you to, blink twice. If you've got some Zionists that are behind you that are making you real nervous to talk about this.
Certainly so, especially with his connections to Ehud Barak and Les Wexner and Robert Maxwell, the most famous spy in Israel history. A lot of his associations were to Israel and Mossad, And that's another thing that we just, I guess, aren't allowed to talk about or bring up. It never enters into the public discussion. But that's why some people want answers on that aspect too, Trump.
Anyways, Rep. Thomas Massie is one such Republican who is basically saying, nope, we're not getting away with this. You guys are not getting away with that. He has launched a long shot attempt to force a vote on the releasing of the Epstein files. He announced he announced this on X, that he is going to force a vote on this. And if nothing else, we will at least know who is voting against the release of the Epstein files. Here's what he shared on X. He wrote, "We all deserve to know what's in the Epstein files, who is implicated, and how deep this corruption goes. Americans were promised justice and transparency. So we're introducing a discharge petition to force a vote in the U.S. House of Representatives on releasing the complete files." You can see that already has 11,000 retweets. He then explains a discharge petition is a procedural tool for bypassing leadership. In 7 days, we can start collecting signatures. At 218 signatures, the House must vote on our bill requiring a full release of the Epstein files. If your representative will not sign the discharge petition, ask why. So certainly do that, guys. We'll keep you posted on that. I will throw, when he gets his petition going for signatures, I will get that up and make sure that I'm promoting it, because this matters. Like I've said, this matters.
That's right, Candace. Amen. This does matter. This is the hill. This is the hill to die on. It's the schism in the movement, more so than any of the other things that have happened that have split Trump's base to certain extents. Like the schism with Musk over the big abominable bill, which he dragged Massie over too, by the way, and the debt spending. It's a bigger schism than that, as far as the polls go and as far as the top influencers weighing in go. It's a bigger schism than bombing Yemen for a month, and the Signalgate controversy that came from that and resulted from that. It's a bigger schism than how you handled Iran, a war on Israel's behalf, which isn't over yet. There's a ceasefire, but now there's no inspection regime in Iran. They're more incentivized than ever to actually get a nuclear weapon, and they probably will try to, or at least there will be a push to it to do so by some circles. And it's not like that situation's over. Netanyahu and the neocons are going to clamor for regime change there like they have essentially my entire life. This is a real schism playing out in your base where, like I said, the top brass are weighing in on this. And it's not just Candace, but hey, she's doing the Lord's work here as far as I'm concerned. It won't go away, and props to Thomas Massie for forcing this to be an issue. Ro Khanna as well on the Democratic side. I'm not afraid to say that either. I know he's a Democrat, but he's right on this if he wants to get to the bottom of this. And yeah, I do think some of it's opportunism, because the Democrats didn't exactly make a stink about this under Biden. That's true. But regardless of the timing, I'm always for doing what's right at the right time. And it's beyond the right time to get this information out there. Support Massie's bill. The discharge petition is a great idea, and props to him for investigating the House rules to find out how to do this. But this should be supported at all costs. Like I said, this is the hill. This is a sex trafficking ring that involves some of the most powerful people in government, and they're trying to cover it up. And Trump's not alone in it. It's his subordinates. It's the deep state. And yeah, it was the Biden administration too. That's what we're dealing with. It's a big club. We're not part of it. George Carlin was right on that, but we should get to the bottom of this. It's not a hoax. It wasn't drummed up by the Democrats. And despite how Trump slaps you in the face for your loyalty if you supported him, partially because of this, this is all his fault. He's digging his grave more and more. This could linger and affect the Republicans in the midterms if they don't come through with some sort of transparency here, which it doesn't look like we're going to get short of a whistleblower, but that's where we're at here. But I do want to hear what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. Do you agree with Candace Owens on this? Is Trump to blame for this? Is it just his subordinates and he had no complicit, behavior in this whole debacle? Let me know in the comments below. You've heard my take. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to Candace, who's doing a great job covering this issue. And please consider becoming a YouTube member by clicking the join button below. If you become a member, you support me financially and you get access in return to see all my videos before they come out on YouTube. Now, until I see you guys next time, no more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. Peace out, guys. Have a good one.